If you are new to this series, we have been going through every single national title claim in college football history for the FBS or highest level at the time it was claimed. At this time, we have covered all of the one-time and two-time champions and are moving on to the threes and beyond. Please go back and watch those for me after this if you enjoy this sort of thing. From here, some teams will still be lumped together and some will get their own depending on how much of an argument I feel is needed. So, let's get chronic. Prior to the college football playoffs and BCS national title game, we relied only on the polls to determine the college football national champion, with some formulas and short-lived systems in between attempting to better things. The polling system failed many times, with as many as 4 to 6 teams in contention that never even played each other. This often resulted in many split national championship years. Prior to 1965, some polls voted on their national champions before the bowl games were even played, and then saw their champion lose their final game. If you go back a little further, the first attempt to straighten things out came in 1936 with the creation of the AP poll, and was often the most respected poll for many years. But even then, the early media had their biases and favorites due to what they were familiar with. If all the writers and voters only saw Notre Dame or Yale, they would have no way to compare it to what was going on down south or out west, and usually just sided with what they knew. Prior to the AP, we had a wild, lawless 67 years of college football where many or no teams called themselves national champions, and a lot of those teams didn't even claim national titles in this era until more modern polls went back and retroactively named them national champions. Are you confused yet? You should be. While the AP poll is often the benchmark for a champion from 1936 to 1998, I would still argue that point. If the AP named you champion and nobody else did, that smells a bit fishy. Personally, I tend to side with what a majority of the polls say. So if the AP says you are the champ, but 11 others don't, I look deeper into the situation. And that's just me. You are free to do or think whatever you like.
Jerry, just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
And of course, I view any titles won through the playoffs or BCS title game as automatically 100% legit from the start of the video, even if you disagree with the selection committee. And yes, I have also disagreed with them plenty of times. On the flip side, any that claim a separate title outside of those official parameters I view as complete bullshit, whether the selection committee screwed said team or not. History is history, and I respect that fact, even if I dislike that fact. For the purposes of this channel, I'm only going by what the school actually claims. I will do a series covering unclaimed titles later on. I have added a layer to my tiers and now broken them down into 5 sections. 100% legit, debatable but fair, I see your argument but no, complete bullshit, and introducing 1941 Alabama, which will be reserved for the most imaginary or dumb claims that exist. Cornell. Okay, yeah, I know. This won't be a highly watched video in this series, and to be honest, it may not be a very long one. All 5 of the Big Red's national title claims came before World War II. Technically the last one came 2 months after, but well, before the US entered battle. In this era, the schools that would later make up the Ivy League were national powers, as most of you know. Some schools like Princeton and Yale claim almost every title in the early years, but even schools like Columbia claim one. Cornell sits in the middle of it all, with 5. So let's jump into this one and see how many of these titles that I consider legit in an era where that was not an easy task and not even that important to many at the time. Years later, programs tried to build their image and prestige by going back and scooping up some retros. Cornell, let's see it.
I'm Ricky Bobby. If you don't chew Big Red, then you.
And just a reminder, with these older teams, we didn't have a major ranking poll until 1936 with the AP, so a lot of schedule strength is just an estimation based on traditional powers of the early days. We start this whole thing in 1915. The team jumped out to a 4-0 record after 4 straight home games, including 2 shutouts. By the time they hit the road, it made no difference. The Big Red won key games like a 10-0 triumph at Harvard, a 34-7 win at Michigan, who were in the aftermath of their recent dynasty, and at Penn 24-9. Cornell finished the season a perfect 9-0 and were named by the New York Times as the national champion, which is convenient for a New York school. Retroactively, they were also named champs by a number of selectors. Nebraska, Washington State, and Oklahoma all went undefeated in 1915 as well, and a few of them got at least one selector or mathematical formula's vote as co-champion. But none of those schools claim a title on the season, so we won't worry about that in this series. However, Pittsburgh also went undefeated and do claim the 1915 title based off Park H. Davis naming them co-champions. I've mentioned this dude before on this channel, and I don't really take his claims with any degree of validity. He is, after all, the guy who voted his own team he coached as national champions in 1896 with Lafayette. He also went on to name co-national champions nearly every year, with at least one of the teams only named by him and often a weaker outlier. Granted, for 1915, Pitt was strong enough at 8-0. Through some speculative and somewhat boring research, Cornell seems to have been the better team, even if you only base it off their common opponent Penn, who the Big Red beat in an easier fashion. Cornell's claim to 1915 seems as 100% legit as one can get for that era. As for Pitt, they claim 9, so we will get to them down the line. 1921 got off to a red-hot start, with 3 wins coming by a combined score of 206-0. They went on to beat the likes of Dartmouth 59-7, Columbia 41-7, and rival Penn 41-0. This was a dominating team, but a reminder that in this era, it was common to shut out and blow out multiple teams. Though in Cornell's case here, a few of the opponents were seemingly of decent quality. The 8-0 Big Red were named national champions by the Helms Foundation, the Holgate System, and the National Championship Foundation, as well as being named co-champion by, you guessed it, Park H. Davis, who actually decided he'd name a 3-way split for 1921. California, Iowa, and Lafayette also all claim this title. While I have not yet gotten to Cal and Iowa as of this writing, I did cover Lafayette in a previous video in this series and gave them the benefit of the doubt and gave them a 100% stamp of approval. You can check out that video for more context, and I'll pop it up on the screen right now. Basically, I do have a team for 1921 that I value over the rest, but it shouldn't devalue the others in my opinion because their case is good in their own rights. I basically have a 3-way split all at 100%, and I hate that I do, but it is just one of those things. I already gave the Leopards a 100% stamp, I am giving Cornell one as well, and a third in the near future. But I'm also going to have to draw the line on the 4th team. More on that soon. 1 year later, in 1922, Cornell claimed their 3rd national title, but 3 other teams claimed it as well. What a mess, but more on that later. The Big Red mostly breezed through everyone, outscoring all opponents by a combined 339-27. They shut out Niagara, Colgate, Columbia, Dartmouth, and Penn, and really only had 2 close games to finish at 8-0. The team was retroactively named national champions by the Helms Foundation and co-national champion by, surprise, surprise, Park H. Davis. California, Iowa, and Princeton are the other teams claiming 1922, and they all went undefeated. Let's see if I can create any separation with these 4 or not. Using a respected blogger's logic on the subject, he theorizes that Princeton had a tougher schedule and Cornell did better overall with who they faced. He goes on to say Cornell definitely had the better team, but those things don't really help my argument too much, so I already have equal respect for Cornell and Princeton. Iowa played only 1 team with a winning record, so I'd have to value them a little less, but I think it would be unfair to dismiss them altogether. Cal had a hypothetical strength of schedule near Cornell's but under Princeton's, and did equally as well. If we're really splitting hairs, and I think we have to when we have 4 claims, I ultimately have 3 at 100%, as comparing them all to each other is too speculative. We haven't covered the other 3 teams I mentioned yet, so for now, let's just call 1922 Cornell 100% legit given the landscape of this era. Spoiler alert, there's no foolproof way to discredit any of these teams from their title claim. I personally just have 3 a little higher than the other. More on that in the future videos. We have a 3rd straight year of Big Red prestige for 1923, and wouldn't you know it, another year of 4 teams making a claim. But this time, they don't all have perfect records or as strong of cases, so sorting can be done a little easier. As for Cornell, the Big Red squashed all 8 opponents, with their closest matchup being a 14-7 win at Penn to close the season at a perfect 8-0. They were retroactively named co-national champions only by Jeff Sarragan, the weakest of any claim they've made thus far, but let's see. Michigan, Illinois, and Cal are the others making the claim to 1923. Let's first briefly eliminate Cal before moving on, and I won't go too deep because I have not yet done their video. While the Bears did shut out 9 opponents on the season, I'll remind you again that this was somewhat common in the early years of college football. Their schedule also included an alumni game, a game against an Olympic club, which doesn't necessarily make them a lesser opponent, but still not a great look for a 1920s powerhouse. And finally, the team actually tied Nevada out of nowhere. The Wolfpack went 2-3-3 that season, so I think you can see where this is going. Cal is out of the 1923 discussion for this video for now at least. The remaining 2 outside of Cornell, Illinois and Michigan, went undefeated and untied. Michigan, however, beat 2 of their quality opponents on fluke plays that gave them the win. They also struggled with one of their weaker opponents. More on Michigan when we get to their video, but they have to at least be considered the lesser of the 3. Crunching all the subjective numbers and quality wins between Cornell and Illinois, we don't have too much separation. Cornell is going to again be 100% for 1923, and I guess you can deduct what that will mean for Illinois when their video comes out. That's a 100% three-peat from my opinionated legit tier, at least. The final claim for Cornell comes from the 1939 season, and for this season, we finally have the AP poll rankings in their relative infancy. The Big Red did not dominate, but did manage to get by without a loss or a tie. A handful of big and/or clutch games included 19-6 over Syracuse, 23-14 over number 4 Ohio State, 13-7 over Columbia, and 14-12 over Colgate to finish a perfect 8-0. The team was named national champions by the Lichtkenhaus Difference by Score ratings, and co-national champion by Sagarin, but finished at number 4 in the AP. USC and Texas A&M also claimed 1939. While USC had a solid team, they tied number 9 UCLA 0-0, which I could forgive, but also tied Oregon, who went on to finish 3-4-1, and struggled heavily with a below-average Washington team. I've already called Texas A&M the most legit champion for 1939 in their video, and for more context, please go check out that video. However, Cornell going undefeated and beating number 4 Ohio State on the road is no small feat. Texas A&M had one more ranked victory, but possibly only because they played a bowl game. While Texas A&M is undoubtedly top dog this season, Cornell deserves their flowers too. 1939 is going to fall on the debatable but fair tier. If not for that Ohio State game, I might have dropped them to I see your point but no. But luckily, that quality opponent is more than respectable enough. Lately in this series, I've been ending with my thoughts on if I think the team in question will be adding to the trophy case anytime soon, like within the next 5 to 10 years. For Cornell, as with every school in that conference, the answer is going to be a resounding hell no.
Oh, hell no!
The Ivy League just started participating in the FCS playoffs in 2025 and do not even offer scholarships for football. And wouldn't you know it, I did an entire video on that subject. Please go check that out if you haven't already. But even if a Cinderella team comes out of the Ivy League and makes a run in the playoffs, it will definitely not be Cornell. The Big Red last had a winning season in 2005, and that was only 6-4. The last respectable winning season came in 1986 at 8-2. Even if you apply the Ivy's automatic bid retroactively, Cornell would have a program total of 0 FCS playoff appearances, as all 3 of their conference titles were shared with a team who would have won the tiebreaker over them. Sorry, Big Red, and this is not even my opinion, but you will not be making any sort of noise in the next 5 to 10 years, and maybe not even in the next 50 to 75 years. So relish the early 1900s as much as you can. That's as good as it will ever get, unless a centennial generational oddity comes along. And there we go. If you feel I was unfair or missed a piece of info, go ahead and make your case in the comments. Also, please go check out the other videos in this series. There is a playlist for them, and I just recently finished up all teams who claim 4 titles. And remember, this is just one guy on YouTube who did some research and gave an opinion. I'm sure I won't change any fan base's opinion on the titles they choose to boast about, and certain fan bases have made that pretty clear thus far. This has been College Football Chronicles, and I hope you join me next time.